Welcome to The Worst with Chad Austin. I am your host, Chad Austin, and as you can see, I am alone. So lonely. And it just feels like I have less and less friends nowadays that want to tell me embarrassing shit about themselves. So when I put out the call for a guest, I had like 3 people ask, hey, yeah, or like tell me, yeah, let's do it. And then one, it was like, all right, but you understand what I do on the show, right? And then I had to explain it to them. And then they're like, well, maybe it's not for me. And then the other 2, scheduling difficulties. This studio gets booked pretty great. I'm very happy for my friends here, but also it makes it so with my work schedule, it's almost impossible to find a time to do this. So when I saw, hey, we have a time slot, I just booked it, and then I'm trying to tell everybody, hey, it's tomorrow, and they're like, why are you only giving me 1 day notice? And I'm like, you're the one that said you can do it. So back at it again by myself. We're just going to go through a couple stories, and we're going to go through some news stories, and I'll rant for as long as possible until I finally give up and call it quits for the day. I was just talking about this, how it becomes like this grind. And even if I can't find a guest, I don't want to give up a week of doing this, because this is like my one reprieve from just nonstop bodily punishment of running a bar. And I like doing this. This is my one time to like be goofy and have fun and be myself. And, because when you're at work, you have to put on the customer service voice and and I don't have to put on the customer service face because we're back to masks, but the customer service voice is a must. And you don't really get to, I naturally curse a lot. It was probably just because of the household I was brought up in. My parents were very comfortable with saying whatever the hell they wanted around me at all times. And now I do the same thing, and I catch myself doing it in front of my daughter, and I'm like, you got to stop doing that. But she knows they're bad words, so I don't have to worry because she's smart, a lot smarter than I was at that age. And you're just at work, and you're constantly doing oh, thank you, sir. I hope you have a great day, too. Yeah, please come back anytime. I'll always be here. And you do that 20,000 times a day. Like, everybody, if you work with people long enough, you notice that everybody has like a routine that they do. It's almost like having like bits on stage, and you find the one that kills and you just keep on doing it. Because you always have a new crowd coming in when you work in a restaurant. It's over and over and over again, just tables turning. And I work at a place that is very meat heavy. Like we serve a lot of meats on like fucking platters. So my joke that everybody on staff has heard me do probably like 40 times is when I set down the tray of meat, I always go, and here's all your vegan options. And then everyone's like, ha, 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 ha. And then I get my little giggle for the day, and or for that table. And then when the next one comes, I do it again, and I do it again. And then you just get to this point where you're like, I'm going to say it again, but I also want to kill myself for doing it. And, you grin and bear it, and you put a smile on, and you say, thanks for coming. See you soon. And most of the time it really works out. And, but last week I actually had a guest who followed me and got in my face and screamed in my face from less than a foot away. And I'm usually a person where it takes a lot for me to get upset. Like, I don't get angry very easily. And this guy just pushed all my buttons. We're the type of place where we have a break in the middle of the day. We do a lunch service, we close for 2 hours, and then we do a dinner service. Thing about the lunch service is say we close at 3:00, and we close at 3. But all the way up until 2:59, we will let people sit down. We'll let people sit down, and they can sit and they can stay and they can hang out the whole time we're closed. It doesn't bother us. But the one thing that we ask them to do is, after they've ordered their food and they had all their drinks, please close out your bill, so I can get the servers off the floor. We can get them all cashed out, and we can get ready for the night shift. And I just had this one guy who came in angry. He came in 5 minutes before we closed, and the server, very sweet girl, she says, hey, can I get you guys anything to drink? And he was just like, water with lemon. I'm like, all right, cool. So she goes over to the station to get the water, but all the lemons are at the bar, so she has to drop off the water and then go get the lemons and bring them back. So when she drops off the water, the guy looks at her and goes, where's my lemon? She goes, oh, well, actually, I'm about to go get them. They're over here at the bar. And then his wife goes, well, I'm ready to order. So then she's like confused, like, hey, do I go get the lemons or do I take your order? So she's like, oh, I'll take your order. And he just looks at her and he goes, no, you will get me my goddamn lemons because I can't drink this water without my lemons. And she says, oh, okay, no problem. Just being very sweet. She comes over and she grabs lemons. She kind of hints to me that she's having a little bit of a problem, but, just grabs them really quick, runs back over. And she walks up and she hands him the lemons and she goes, okay, so we're ready to order now. And then he just looks at her and he goes, you need to chill. And she's like, wait, your wife said you were ready. I'm chill. But I just want to let you know that the kitchen closes in 2 minutes. I kind of need to get your order in. And plus your wife said she was ready. And he's like, I feel like I'm being rushed. This is a hostile environment, blah, blah, blah. We're just trying to serve you food, dude. And so she does all that. They get their food. Everything's going great. It's now about 20 minutes after we've closed. Usually everything is done by that time, but we're still waiting for this guy to pay his bill. So she walks over and she tries to give him the check and he just goes, oh, hell no, you're not giving me this right now. You're not interrupting my meal. This is my time. You're on my goddamn time. I don't give a damn about your procedures. This is my time. And so she comes over and she tells me that. And then about 15 minutes later, so about 35 minutes after closing now, she says, hey, Chad, can you try to go drop the bill on him? And I said, you know what? Sounds fun. So I walk over. And they're still eating. I set down the check, and before he can even say anything, because I saw him light up with rage, like he was about to yell at me, and I just put up my hands. I was like, before you say anything, I just want to say, you can hang out here for as long as you want. We don't close until 9:30 p.m. You can stay all the way through dinner service if you like. I don't care. But I just need you to pay the bill really quick. And then we will be out of your hair and you can hang out for as long as you want. And this man was not having it. He just starts yelling at me. I already told the young lady that this isn't acceptable. You're interrupting my goddamn time. I don't give a shit about your procedures. I don't give a shit about your people. This is my time. I'm eating here right now. And I was like, we do this 20 times a day and no one else has ever had a problem with this. I thought maybe she wasn't explaining it right. I apologize. I am going to leave this right here on the table. So you just let us know when you're ready to pay for it. And he looks at me, he goes, you ain't leaving this on my table. And he picks up the check presenter, which is like a little mini clipboard, and he throws it across the restaurant. Just frisbees the fucking thing. So I just look at him. And I just say, fantastic. And I walk over to pick it up. And as soon as I said that, I guess he didn't like my tone. He jumped up out of his chair and he followed me and then proceeded to get in my face and scream at me about how he needs my name and my position because he's going to talk to somebody about me. And I was just so, it's one of those things where you kind of just like black out because you're trying to keep focus on not losing your cool. And I'm shaking the entire, I'm writing my name and my position for this guy. And the whole time I'm shaking like I have Parkinson's. It just looks like, it looks like Michael J. Fox wrote my name. And so finally I just give it to him and I was like, here you go. Thank you. Finish your food. I'm going to leave. And I just stepped outside until I cooled off. But, that is one out of, 100 people that act like that. Most of the time they act like that because they're trying to get something free. They want something from you. And luckily, I had guests in there that saw the whole interaction. And one of them was a regular of mine. And this man, he calls himself Big Jack. And Big Jack has tall tales like that movie Big Fish or I mean, just straight out of a book. And the funny thing is if you've seen King of the Hill and you know the character Boomhauer and how you can't really understand anything he's saying when he's talking, or like better example for Big Jack. Big Jack, you know how there was those things that used to be on the internet where it would be like a paragraph and only the first and last letter are in the right space, and all the middle letters are jumbled up, but somehow you can still make out what he's saying or what the paragraph says because those two letters are in the right space. That's what's like listening to Big Jack talk. And he talks so fast. But during this time of him being like my once a week regular sitting at the bar, I've heard so many great stories about how he used to play basketball with Dr. Julius Erving. And then this last week, he told me that he got socked in the lip by Sugar Ray Leonard and even tried to show me a scar on his lip that I couldn't see. But I mean, tall tales for days. And this is an old black man who just loves to come in and hang out, drink a couple Modelo's with his wife, and eat some food. And, you know, they happen to pick sitting at the bar, so they sit with me. And he just tells me that last time he came in, he was there for that thing. And he came in just yesterday and he kept on telling me that he was about to whoop that old man's ass for talking to me like that. And it's just nice to know that there's some people that don't just see you as the help, like they have your back a little bit. And, you know, I'm not really going anywhere with this. I'm just saying that shit can be stressful. Every restaurant in the world is understaffed right now, so give us a fucking break. Okay, and you know, and like with all that said, it's just like it's one of those things where this, like I said, this is my reprieve of doing this nonsense every single day, and I try to do comedy, but I hardly ever have time, or by the time I get off work, I'm so exhausted, and it's one of those things where I know. Like, I am very self-aware that I am 35 years old and I just started doing open mics when I was 33, late bloomer, to understanding what I wanted to do. So I know, like, all of these, like, really hungry 21, 22-year-old kids are going to be there every night working on their craft. And I really have no plans. Like, I have a family. I have 3 people that I take care of on my one paycheck. And I have no plans of, like, becoming that poor again to make it, for this to be my dream. Like, I want to come because I like doing it, and like the comedy crowd are probably the more fun people to hang out with because they get a joke. You know, you can bust balls, you can hang out, and it was never about like, oh yeah, you know, I'm starting comedy late, but hey, I'm gonna make it and I'm gonna be big. I know I'm not. I'm very, very aware of that, but it's the crowd I want to be in. It's where I want to hang out. And this is where I have a good time. So if you ever see me at an open mic, don't think that I'm coming for your spot. I'm just there to hang out and have a good time. Maybe I'll tell a couple jokes. Maybe they'll do well. Maybe they won't. But that's all I'm here for, is just to hang out, because I have way too much shit on my plate to worry about trying to be the next big thing. Because, you know, it's just... like I said, it's too late. So don't worry about seeing me around. I'm just there to hang out with you. So come say hi. All right. So so this morning, my daughter is obsessed with this video game right now. It's called Scribble Knot Showdown. Now, this Scribble Knot Showdown, it's like Mario Party. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what it's like. It's like Mario Party, where it's like a board game and you have a bunch of mini games that you play, and you play with friends, and, you know, you win the mini games and you advance on the board. But this one is for this one's for, you know, like younger kids. I mean, not that Mario is more of an adult game, but I guess like I'd rather play Mario because it's a nostalgia thing for me and seeing the characters, and she likes creating these custom weird little characters. And so this is more her speed. This is what she likes. But, you know, on the Nintendo Switch and whatever else, like all these games are interactive with like motions and shit now, right? So we're playing this game, and one of the mini games is you have to shake up a soda bottle and explode it in the other character's face. And I was kind of shocked for a second, because like, what the fuck are they teaching these kids? Because the whole time you have the control in your hand and you're just going like this as fast as you can, and then at the end, if you fill up the bar, then you shoot something in the other person's face, like you shoot a liquid, and it's just like they're too young to get this reference, and I'm grateful for that it's a little bit more pure of mind. But when you have an adult who doesn't think properly about anything playing it, I was just like, holy shit, this is some of the most fucked up things I've ever seen in a video game, especially when it's aimed at kids like 6 to 10, 6 to 12, something like that. I'm just happy that my daughter's only 11 and doesn't understand the nuances of these movements and what is going on with all that. But it was wild to see, I'll tell you that much. So what else do we got? Okay, so this is a fun story. A QAnon obsessed California surf school owner takes kids to Mexico to kill them with a harpoon because they were going to destroy the world. Now, I mean, it pretty much just says it in the title about how, like, why this guy did it, because he's a Q supporter. But basically, he took them to Mexico to kill them with a spearfishing gun, because they were going to grow to be monsters and destroy the world. So these QAnon people think that the younger generations, being that they care about people and, you know, they don't fight back against the use of pronouns, and they don't do this and they don't do that, that they are making the world a terrible place to live in, and they're going to destroy the world. So this guy decided that, almost like it was like a prophecy that he had to fulfill. Like he was given like the golden spear, and it had to be ran through these. I mean, luckily he had no chance of doing it. But I found this story, and it just made me think. Where I live, I have I live in a condo, and I have a landlord, and my landlord is a crazy middle-aged Jewish woman who is a full Q supporter. And she calls me at least once a month to talk, just to talk. Like she calls me like I'm a friend, and she calls me to tell me about all of the new findings that she has on the internet. Like, you know, she's a researcher, a scientist, if you will. And because of COVID and then me falling behind on rent and her being cool about it, I just go with it. And I've talked to her about being a full-on Trump supporter. I've talked to her about being a full-fledged member of Q, and these things are all just to keep her happy, so my family can keep the place that we're living, because I don't want to move. And it's funny the lengths that you'll go to keep that little bit of like that safety net that you have. And my safety net is just being able to fully commit to the bit and tell my landlord, like, yeah, absolutely, I believe they stole the vote. You know, Trump will be back in office sooner than you think. So we're just going to keep our heads down. We're not going to listen to the lizard people. And, you know, before you know it, things will be back in his glorious reign again. And she eats it the fuck up. And we have these conversations. Oh, she hit me up to tell me that she was slanging under the counter COVID medications. Like very like low key, like I'm telling you guys this right now, but she's like, don't tell a soul. But if you need it, if anybody you know gets sick, she's like, I got the hydrochloroquine, I got the zinc, I got the vitamins, and I sell it all in a nice little pack for $150. Like, let your friends know if anybody thinks they got COVID, or if anybody thinks that they're in danger of getting it, I got what they need. But, you know, only people that you trust. Don't let anybody else know, because no one believes that this works. But, you know, when Trump said it works, I believed him, and this, that, and the other. I was like, oh, absolutely. You know, luckily, me and my family, we stay away from everybody else, so we don't have to worry about it. But, you know, if I ever need it, not going to a doctor, going to you, because you're, you know, we're like this, you know, we're homies. We believe in the cause, you know, Q for life. But yeah, so this whole story just reminded me of that, because first of all, Q would have never been so big if it wasn't for the quarantine. And you got to think, I'm making Q conspiracies now because Q in quarantine starts with Q, man. Get into it, dude. But yeah, so like if people didn't have enough, have all this time to sit on their asses and just read message boards, I don't think that this shit would have popped off so hard. But then then this happens, and then you have all the time in the world. And now I'm wondering, did Q create the COVID virus? So then he'd find more followers. Who is Q? I need to know. But yeah, so I mean, they just read and read and read until you get to the point where you think you need to kill 8-year-old children with a harpoon because they're going to grow up to destroy the world. I mean, the world can't get more. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it can, and I'm sure it will. But in just the way that I'm seeing everything right now, and the fact that like most of the time when I'm looking at news stories to do for this, I only look up like the really fucked up and weird shit. It just makes me feel like it's so much more in the world, like the zeitgeist and all this stuff, and that it's just all crumbling down. But I feel like it's just going to get worse and worse over the next 10 years, even though like in my head, it can't get any worse. Like everybody's fucked up. Everybody's weird. Everybody's just, I mean, and I'm not saying that I'm any better, but at least I'm not trying to kill children. I guess I am saying I'm better. I'm not trying to fucking kill kids. Fucking assholes. Speaking of people threatening to kill people, fans of Britney Spears are threatening to kill the judge that is ruling on her conservatorship case. Now, here's the deal. I understand being very, very, very into something. Like when I was a teenager, like my favorite band when I was like 13 was Blink-182, and I had like all of their posters on the wall, and I was the biggest fan. Like nothing you could tell me about them. Like they couldn't do anything wrong. You know, they make live albums where they make the most like horrendous gay jokes and this, that, and the other, which nowadays none of them could fucking do ever and probably wouldn't. But it was hilarious, and they're gods, and they run around naked, and so you should be able to too, and this, that, and the other. So like I understand getting caught up in like a fandom. But I've never once thought I'm going to murder somebody for Blink-182. Like even at the height of like being like an extreme fan. Now, I don't know if I ever had if there was ever anything that they were into that they needed somebody killed for. So I don't know if I would have tested my, limits as a super fan. But also you have to remember that this is a judge. And a judge has to go off of only facts in the case. They're not allowed to that like once they're working a case, they're not really going on to social media and listening to what all the fans are saying and all of this fact or fiction, this, that, and the other. They go with what's on the docket in front of them, what's been actually submitted to the courts, this, that, and the other, and then they decide here and there what they're gonna do. So give this fucking lady a break, is what I'm saying. She's just doing her job, and you can't threaten to kill a judge, somebody that works for the government. I don't know why anybody even has to say this, but if you're young enough to not know that is, I mean, threatening to kill anybody is illegal, but that one's extremely illegal. Like you can't threaten to kill somebody that works for the government. So another one that I got going on here is Governor Cuomo, who is now resigning. This has been blowing up the internet. He made a comment saying that he's not a pervert, he's just Italian. So bud, there's now like an uprising with the Italians on the East Coast, like your people, saying that how dare you like just say that just blame it on your culture. Yes, dude, I've met a lot of Italians. I have a couple of close Italian friends, and they are the people, 100%, I'll admit this, they are the people that, like, if one of my guy friends who is extremely Italian leans in and kisses me on the cheek, I don't blink twice about it. Like, I was like, that's their culture. I was like, I'll even fucking lean in and give them a smooch too. But to blame like all of your charges on like, oh yeah, dude, I just pinched your ass. That's Italian, like it's cool. Like, oh yeah, you can't slip a finger in. That's not Italian. I mean, it's guy. I mean, that's like saying, oh, it's like, I'm not drunk, I'm just Irish, or I don't have bad teeth, I'm just British, or I'm not pushy, I'm just Armenian. Like there's so many things that you could, I mean, like I'm not, I mean, there's just, you're leaving a wide open gap for anybody to just be like, oh yeah, I'm not this, it's just my culture. And you cannot use your culture to just completely fuck off with, and basically a lot of charges. It's just, I mean, Bill Cosby could never use it. Why should you? I mean, he can't blame the Jell-O pudding on, all of his charges. Okay, so that's really all I have to say about it. You can't blame it on being Italian. Okay, so a guy, and I don't have more than a headline on this, but I just thought the headline was fucking hilarious. A Chinese man shoved a 22 centimeter eel up his rectum because he was trying to cure his constipation. So, I mean, I don't know how it goes in China. Never been, but around here, you have Metamucil, you have enemas, you have, there's plenty other medicines that a doctor like laxatives, all this stuff. I don't know if using an eel was the best route. And the funny thing is in the byline for the article, for the headline, it says that entering in through his anus, he shoved it up his rectum. I'm like, okay, but also, how else are you going to put something in your rectum unless it's through the anus? I mean, he's not swallowing it and hoping it finds its way down. Like, he's going straight to the source. So I didn't think that byline was completely necessary. And apparently it made its way up into his small intestine, and it almost like ate through and killed him. But hey, he lived and life goes on for the guy, and good for him. I would highly suggest don't use an eel for medical problems when it comes to listen, Richard Gere had lots of fun with gerbils. I think that's a little bit safer than an eel. Just pick and choose what you're going to shove up your ass. Let's not go overboard. OJ Simpson. This one's fun. OJ Simpson said recently in an interview that he does not want to come back to LA ever at all because he is afraid that if he comes to LA, he will be sitting in the same room as the killer. Hey, OJ, buddy, you're in Vegas right now, right? You're sitting in the same room as the killer. Hey, when you go to Atlanta, you're sitting in the same room as the killer. Hey, have you ever been to Europe since this happened? You're sitting in the same room as the killer. Hey, remember when you went to prison for stealing something? Same room as the killer. So, I mean, it's almost like he has to play. He has to, either he has created this lie in such depth that he actually believes it now. And he's like, there's somebody still out there, man. Why aren't you looking for the killer of my ex-wife and her dude that she was banging behind my back? Or he's so entangled in this that he feels the need to just like keep it going as much as he can. But I mean, also, I just feel like, what if you just didn't say anything about it? What if somebody was like, hey, OJ, like, why don't you ever go to LA? And he just goes, don't really like it there. Not a big fan of LA anymore. Little traumatizing. And then you leave it at that. You don't go on a whole rant about how you're going to be sitting at fucking Hamburger Mary's and the killer is going to be next to you. And also, OJ, you're a little bit bigger than the little girl that got murdered, so I think you might be able to handle yourself. What, you're like 6'5", 250, pro football player for a long time. I think I mean, if the killer's really still out there, I think you have a little bit better of a chance of defending yourself. So don't be scared of LA. No one here is going to hurt you. Wouldn't mind having you on the podcast though. That might be fun. So let's let me call your people. And okay, so this is like the main thing that I wanted to get into on this episode, and it's kind of funny because the last time I did a solo episode, I ended it with me doing a BuzzFeed quiz of how gay are you, and somehow the main thing that I want to talk about again is something to do with being gay. Now, this might have something to do with the fact that my dad gave me a complex, and my whole life he told me he thought I was gay. And even on my wedding night, when I married my female wife, and he walked up to me as we were leaving for the night, and he shook my hand, and he goes, "So I guess you're going to go fuck your wife now." And so, I mean, all the way up until he died, like, I mean, if my dad was able to be responsive when he was laying in that hospital bed, he probably would have called me a homo at that point, but he wasn't. And, I got to say goodbye to him in a peaceful manner and not being slandered. But so now I find it fascinating. My gay friends are probably my most fun friends. So maybe that's another thing too. But anyways, enough about me. The main reason I'm bringing this up right now is there was just a news story released that Robin from Batman and Robin has been outed as bisexual in one of the newest comic books. So Robin's out. Robin likes dudes. Robin likes girls. Fine. He's a little twink sidekick. I get it. It works. It looks like it. But after I saw that article, I thought to myself, I was like, I wonder how many superheroes there are that are gay, or, at least not just like, heteronormative, whatever. It's just, I have some kind, like a trans, fluid, whatever it may be. I want to know how many superheroes have actually been stated as in comic books as being not straight, basically. And I typed that in to Google. I just wrote gay superheroes, and Out Magazine has a list of 65. And I was like, holy shit, that's a lot more than I thought there would be. And some of them, I'm gonna give the writers of these comics some props, because some of them like date back into like the 60s of like maybe not so much being out, but the character was created and there was a whole idea for it. There was a gay wedding in the late 90s on like for the X-Men and some shit. So we're gonna go through a few of these, and there's a couple gems in here that there will be a photo to match what I'm talking about, but. So anyways, let's start with the first one. Batwoman, lesbian, understandable. I get it. I mean, Bruce Wayne, completely self-absorbed. He really has no time for anything. Just go off and do your own thing and be free. It's fine. He doesn't need to know about it. Now, let's see here. There's a guy named Midnighter. There's a guy named Apollo, and Apollo is on fire. Make what you will of that. And Green Lantern, they say, is gay. And I mean, sure, like, I really don't have much to say about him being gay. And then we get to the first one where I want to, Dakin. Now, Dakin, I had no idea who he was because I was a big comic book nerd in the 90s. And then as I got older, I stopped really reading. But apparently, the Marvel X-Men superhero Wolverine has a son. And his son, Dakin, is bisexual. Now, if you know anything about like the X-Men and Wolverine and stuff, he's like a very surly, angry, seems like he doesn't really care for too many types of people. So I really want to know what Wolverine thought of his son being bisexual, like when he outed himself to his dad. But this picture, which you'll see is great. He's sitting there with his shirt off, and like he has his claws out, but it's like in this motion right here where it looks like he's like gripping an invisible dick. Like Out Magazine, you picked the most fantastic pictures for this article. So he basically has the same exact powers as Wolverine, except for his one extra mutation is that he projects pheromones that cause him to be desired by both men and women. So this dude is just fucking everybody as much as he wants. All he has to do is release the pheromones. So good for him. You get laid. All right. Now, North Star. I mean, if you've seen him, yeah, he's gay. Wiccan. Wiccan is the son of the Scarlet Witch. I mean, just by the name, like, and I mean, when you see him with he's definitely he's gay. And you know what? You know who his boyfriend is? His boyfriend is the Hulk's son. Now, that's another one, because when the Hulk is the Hulk, he says like 3 words. So he's like smash, Hulk, rage. Like, so, I mean, imagine like having a nuanced discussion with that thing about, you know, being gay. And the crazy thing is about the Hulkling is he looks like the Hulk, just like softer facial features. And then he has like 4 earrings on each ear and like a Justin Bieber haircut. And like, that's how you make I guess that's how you make the Hulk gay. And yeah, and his boyfriend is Wiccan, so he's in a full-on relationship with. And I mean, I really just hope that his dad comes to the wedding as the Hulk, not as Bruce, as the Hulk. There's a dude named Speed who's bisexual. Now, from Palm Springs, most of the dudes I knew out there, they didn't really do speed. It was more of a meth thing, but to each their own. Prodigy, bisexual. Now, there is a girl here named America Chavez, and she's a lesbian. And I'll fully say, before even reading this, the name sounds lesbian. I've never met a straight woman named America. And she hangs. And the crazy thing is about this, as I'm reading these, is that every child of a superhero seems to be gay or bi. It's like the new generation was just like, you know what? It's not enough. We have to make all their children gay, because it says that she hangs out with the Young Avengers and the other queer heroes like Kid Loki, Hulkling, Wiccan, and these are all children of superheroes from when I was a kid. Catman is bisexual. That makes sense to me. A couple people I've never heard of. Bling, but it's a girl who has a bald head and she's wearing a leather jacket with the sleeves rolled up. So lesbian, bisexual, that makes sense based on attire. There's a dude named Richter. Now, Richter, in his photo, he looks like if you took the saxophonist from Lost Boys, the really greased up buff guy who's playing the saxophone in the beginning of the movie, and then you added like some like Apache chief to him, and then he's doing like this pose like this. Like, I mean, it speaks volumes. And also the artist was really, really into like skin tight everything. So respect, dude. Shatterstar, Catwoman bisexual. Catwoman bisexual makes so much sense because she always seemed like she was trying to fuck everything. So maybe that's pansexual now, right? I'm trying to get more hip with all the terms. I'm pretty sure pansexual and bisexual is the same thing, right? Like, I mean, bisexual, yeah, it's male and female. But also I know bisexual people that have no problem with having sex with a trans person because they are male or female. So aren't they the same? And I mean, unless pansexual includes animals, but then you're just getting weird. Please tell me if I'm wrong. You can comment on these things. But yeah, so now there's a girl named The Question, and you'll see this photo too, because the photo that they have of her, she just looks like Michael Jackson without a face, like in the Moonwalker video game. And lesbian, absolutely. You're wearing a fedora and a suit and tie. I mean, yeah, bucket. So, I mean, I'm not going to go too far into this because, like I said, there's 65 of them. But the last one I got right here is Obsidian. And Obsidian just looks like a leather daddy. He looks like a gimp. I mean, he is in all black. You can't see any of his face except for his eyes. Yeah, absolutely. You look like you hang out in a lot of clubs in West Hollywood, sir. Yeah. So that's it on that. And there, I'm glad you enjoyed the photos. I'm going to say that like they're already in there. So we're going to end this episode with just a couple, because it is the worst. And even though I did pick up a lot of the worst news that I could find, why not do a couple of the of my worst. So, you know, like I normally would ask a guest a question like, hey, what's your worst this? What's your worst that? I'm just going to give you a couple of my own. So, a couple of my normal questions, my worst night out drinking. Honestly, I've had quite a few of those. A lot of them that were disasters, and one of the best things that happened was the pandemic, because I stopped drinking completely. Because I was just chilling at home with my wife and kid, and I was like, I don't really need to get hammered hanging out with them. They're fun enough on their own. It's not like I'm hanging out with bar patrons and I have to be plastered to make like I give a shit about what they're saying. So now if I go out and drink with friends, I'm like 2 drinks and I'm done. I'm such a fucking lightweight. It's ridiculous, but I love it, and I just space them out, and I'll at the end of the night I've spent like $30 unless I'm buying a friend a drink, which is fantastic, right? Like you couldn't ask for anything better than that. Like going out for a fun night with friends and dropping under $50. Fuck out of here. Never thought that would happen. But I'll tell you what, one of my worst nights out drinking ever was my 15th birthday. And I was at one of my best friend's house, and we were just chilling, and it was my actual birthday. Not just like, oh, hey, your birthday's on a Thursday, let's party on this Saturday. No, it was like my birthday was on a Wednesday, and I was at his house after school getting fucked up. And we were sitting there in his room, and we were smoking a little bit of weed because his dad was very strange about things. He never wanted us to drink, but he told us we could smoke all the weed we want as long as we were safe about it. He said, when you smoke weed, the brain cells eventually come back. When you drink, they're gone for good. He was an unusual man, and he also drank a liter of Pop-Off vodka and Diet Coke every day. So basically, he just didn't want us to be him, but he was kind of a legend, so mad respect to that guy. But anyways, so we're sitting there, we're smoking, and then one of our other friends shows up, and out of the front of his pants, like where his dick is, he pulls a bottle, like a regular sized bottle of Jack Daniels out of his pants, because he had to hide it on his way into the house, right? And he just hands it to me, and was just like, all right, well, that was right next to your nuts, but whatever. And without hesitation, I turn the bottle upside down, and I drink about half the bottle of Jack Daniels in one gulp. And then about 15 minutes goes by, and then I completely just black out. And we are out all night. And as time went on, I remembered most of the night, but it was one of those things where the one homie was like 16 or 17, so he had a car, so we were just driving over to friends' houses, and I was in the back of this Ford Explorer where there was no seats, and they're driving, and I'm just flying all around the cabin. And we go to this person's house who's kind of rich, and she has this huge staircase in front of her house, and they're like jagged, like cut not marble's too nice, like cut stone. And I remember falling down like 15 stairs and having like this massive bruise on my back, and then spending like half the night in the bathroom puking, and then waking up from puking in the middle of the night, and then trying to go into my friend's sister's bedroom to see if she wanted to fuck. And I mean, it was just total chaos. And waking up the next morning being like in pain in more ways than one, and being 15 years old, it was just, it was one of those nights where you wish you remembered more at the time, and you just have other people being like, oh, buddy, you know that you spent 15 minutes telling us that this one girl doesn't like you and you want to die, and you were telling us to drive into traffic and all this. And I'm just like, so I would say that is probably one of my worst nights out drinking. To fall downstairs, tell people that you want to kill yourself, and not remember most of it the next day. I think that's pretty much sums up a bad night of drinking. Worst relationship. Okay, so the thing is, I've had a few that were bad, and I think it was mainly because I was toxic. Like and the thing is like I don't think most people really admit this about themselves, and they're always just like yeah, a relationship ends or whatever, and then you're talking to your boys and be like, oh yeah, dude, she was a bitch, and then you just move on. But like, you know, as I get older and I look back on all these things and I'm just like, dude, I was a piece of shit. And I did everything wrong. And you know, it's just one of those things where, like, say for instance, one of them, there was a girl that I used to work with who I was absolutely smitten with, and you know, she didn't, I mean, she was, we were nice, we went to the movies and stuff, but there was never any label on it, there was never anything like that. And I could tell that she only liked me as a friend, but I would still like be insistent that like, oh, you know, this is my girl, blah 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 blah. And I was so fucking delusional and like kind of like lovesick, you know, like just like, oh yeah, dude, we're gonna spend forever together. And I'm like a 17, 18-year-old kid thinking that, you know, all is good, you know, she's just playing hard to get and all this stuff. And you know, and then finally, you know, one day she's just like, you know, we've been hanging out for like a year. We've hooked up a couple times, but I just need you to know that this isn't going anywhere. And it was like, to me at that time, it was like a girl that I had just given a ring to told me no. Like that's like the end of the world type shit that I thought it was. And then I just realized like, no, Chad, you were a crazy asshole thinking that you had like somebody was yours that never even wanted to be a part of that. And so like that was one. And then I had, you know, another one where I, you know, have you ever been in a relationship with somebody like you basically you sign up to be in a relationship with somebody because you're in love with somebody else and you think that doing this thing with this person will make you get over them? Well, maybe not everybody has, but I definitely did that. And then I was just like in my own little world, like, oh yeah, no, this is great, I'm going to be fine. But the whole time I'm thinking about this other person while this person is going above and beyond for me, trying to make me happy, but I'm never putting in any effort because I think that I'm too good for this relationship because I want this other person. You know, it's weird the things you think about as you get older. And also, these are things that I think about every night. So when I smoke weed, I don't have fun. I just think about all the horrible shit I've done. And for some reason, I still smoke weed every night. Like, it helps me go to sleep. I know that's the reason I do it. But I also know that there's going to be like a 30 to 45 minute period before I actually go to sleep that I'm just going to be thinking about the worst shit that I've ever done and that I've ever been like, yeah, just all I'm going to recatalog everything that I've done and basically understand all my mistakes. And because I don't have a filter on my brain saying, no, you're good anymore, and it's just letting it all get out there, then I'm just like, oh, fuck, I really did do that bad. So these are all like, I don't even need to go to therapy because weed helps me self-reflect and realize what a bad person I've been. And, you know, it's just, I guess that means I kind of like it too. I like, as much as I hate those feelings, it's kind of necessary, and it feel like it is, you know, it's helping me grow. And I understand that like this part of the episode is not very funny, but I'm actually trying to wrap it up and say, hey, be a better person, because that's what I'm trying to do. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I got for you today. I know it's a shorter one, but thank you for listening to The Worst. Please tell your friends to listen. Please, you know, rate and review, subscribe, like, all that stuff, YouTube and Apple and all that stuff. It, you know, it really helps knowing that people enjoy this, and I'm not just doing it for myself. So thank you. Goodbye.